Thanks for joining us for this episode of Coffee with Closers, where business leaders share insights on how to build businesses from the ground up and best practices for innovating in their industry.
Hey, Michael, I'm super excited to have you join me for this episode of Coffee with Closers. You have an amazing journey of entrepreneurial success. Someone who overcome obstacles to build an amazing company. You have reputable clients, retail brands as your customers. So talk to us a little bit about your journey of building this branded group and how you became an entrepreneur.
Well, super excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I also wore my Coffee for Closers t-shirt to be on the podcast with you today. Just a quick deep dive into what started the branded group. Got out of college in 2001, right before 9/11 happened, and job market was very difficult. So took a couple of sales jobs. Learned everything I needed to know back in 2001 about sales, which was pound the phones, and it was a numbers game. Fast forward a couple of years later, I started working for the retail company Jones Apparel Group. Their main brand was Nine West Shoes, and I was a facilities manager. So I had 300 stores. I didn't even know what a facilities manager was. Basically learned everything you could from the retail side of being a facilities manager. And then about 2007, right before the housing market fell out, I went and worked for one of my supplier companies, and they were called Empire Facilities at the time. Became the VP of Sales and Marketing. It was really the only job they had, and it was like the last thing I wanted to do at the time. Didn't want to do sales ever again after pounding the phone so much, but it was a different kind of sale, and I learned the relationship-based aspect of selling. Was there for 7 years, learned everything. Good and bad, things I wanted to do and be better at, and things I didn't want to repeat. So that's kind of what happened. They got bought out by private equity in 2012, and I got put into a place where they wanted to bring someone in above me. I wasn't the VP anymore. I got demoted to the director, and I got let go at the end of 2013, and I decided I can do this on my own. I can do it better, and I can do it from California because I was living in Long Island, New York at the time, and I was tired of snow. So I sold my house and drove across country and started Branded Group.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that journey, there's been a lot of obstacles that you had to face. Some personal and obviously some from your own career. So how did you actually go from that, seeing those obstacles as they were, but still having the confidence and the stamina to kind of face it?
I was at a point in my life, had just gone through a divorce, and going through a divorce and kind of seeing the writing on the wall for a good year of getting demoted. They were going to get rid of me. They wanted to get rid of me because I was their top seller, and they didn't want to pay me commission anymore, to be completely honest. And so the writing was on the wall, and I was just like, I have nothing to lose. Like, money at that point was what I was like, it was a competition. Like, I'm selling the most, I'm bringing in the most money, but it wasn't bringing in the most happiness. Mm-hmm. And so I decided, like, I got nothing to lose, and I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to move to California because that's where I personally wanted to be. And I'm going to start, which was like the worst place to start a business. But that, the sunshine tax is a real thing. But happy to be here now. But, I moved to California, started Branded Group because I was like, if it fails, I can always make more money. It's not anything scary to me at that point. So it was the nothing to lose mentality, I guess.
Yeah, and oftentimes I think obstacles. You can either look at the obstacle as an obstacle and turn it into an opportunity, or you can be so negative about it and just complain all you want. But you kind of have to take your own matters to your own hands and take the appropriate steps to change it, right? Change your story, change your destiny, because that's truly what entrepreneurship is, right? Because someone sees a problem and they complain, and an entrepreneur sees the problem and figure out, how do I solve it and how do I turn it into a solution that millions could actually benefit from it, right? And today that's what your story is.
I think so. I think I live by the saying victim or victor, right? Mm-hmm. So, I think we've all played the victim at some point in our life. I know during my marriage and the end of my time at Empire Facilities, I probably played the victim more than I'd like to admit. Mm-hmm. And I was tired of it. So I did some personal journey stuff, some therapy, things of that nature, and learned to be a victor.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are today. I still hold that mantra pretty true. I say that quite often. You can't let circumstances dictate your life.
Mm-hmm.
You're in charge of your destiny.
Most certainly. Obviously, you've accomplished a lot. I remember from our prior conversation in your previous company that you were working as an employee. You took a company that was just in the two digits. I think they were probably 10 or 15 million, and you grew them up to about 55 million in your time when you were sales rep there. And now you went down to build your own company, and you have well over 80 employees, some extremely recognizable brands as customers. So for all those things that you accomplished over these years, what are some of the things that you're so most proud of as an entrepreneur?
As an entrepreneur, I mean, taking a company, I've always told in the first 5 years, if you make it past 5 years, you're probably going to keep going and you're not going to be going out of business or anything like that. So the fact that we made it to 5 years, I celebrated pretty hard after our 5th year anniversary. But I'm really most proud of our 1-for-1 program that we started. We started that after year 2, and I turned a profit year 1, but it was mostly because we had no overhead.
Mm-hmm.
But I turned a profit year 1, but I was finding myself very dissatisfied with things, running the business. It was a lot of work, and I was like, cool, I'm making money, but what kind of impression am I leaving on the earth? And I started thinking and digging, like, how can I use my biggest tool, which is Branded Group, to give something back? So we started the 1-for-1 program, which was we donated a minute of service time through our employees to our nonprofit partners, which have grown over the years from Habitat for Humanity and Second Harvest Food Bank. And we donate a minute of time building houses or working at the food pantry with our employees. We've grown so exponentially through the 1-for-1 program that it's no longer 1 minute of time for every service call that we complete, because I'd have to hire someone full-time just to do service work, which is a good thing. But now, we make a commitment to do a certain amount of hours every year with our employees through these nonprofits. And we also have a day of purpose for our employees. So they're able to, if they don't want to do Second Harvest Food Pantry of Orange County, or they don't want to do Habitat for Humanity, they can pick, a pet shelter or a soup kitchen, whatever that makes their heart feel happy to go out and do some time as well. So we pay them a day of work, and they can go spend 8 hours doing whatever they want to do, volunteer-wise.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think you built a culture around this whole service model, and you kind of coined a term as well. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
I mean, so when we started, our motto was "Be Better," and it was really it's such a simple 2-word motto, right? Be better, and it's just, you can use it for everything. So it's grown to be something that we live by. So we were like, let's be better to our supplier contractors, because without them, we're nothing. We're just a management company. We're a middleman, and if we don't have our suppliers happy with us, they're not going to perform the work. They're not going to jump for us. So we make sure that we're transparent with our suppliers, and we pay them on time. We make sure that we're better to our clients. That was the second branch of Be Better. So be better to our clients. We want to be transparent to them, tell them, honest ways of what's going on, honest updates. Be better to our community. That's the Habitat for Humanity, the Second Harvest, the Days of Purpose. And then we wanted to be better to our employees. We make sure we treat them fairly, pay them fairly, things of that nature. And the last one is be better to ourselves. We go through this world, and at the last place, like we talked about earlier, I spent so much time, trying to make money, and my divorce. A lot of things led to my divorce, but one of it was that I was out of touch. I was just so focused on winning and getting money that I didn't have any time to focus on myself and my family. So now, be better to yourself, mental health, physical health, eat right, got to be in shape. Well, what's the point of making money and having a successful company and giving back if you can't live past 50, right? So these are the things that we focus on with Be Better. That's where it all spawned from.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think I've heard businesses that are just based on a mission. They have a cost, like they use cost as their marketing or cost as their why behind why they exist. And I think you created a really good culture around this Be Better concept. And I think you've been recognized in the California market, right, as one of the best places to work, and you've had some accolades for that. Can you talk a little bit about how you really built that culture within your company and rallied your entire team to kind of buy into this whole concept?
Sure. So after year two, we had grown. We were probably about 15 to 20 employees, and we were again turning a profit. We had just started the one-for-one program, so the employees that were there were able to do that, but there was still kind of a disconnect, and we started doing employee surveys to find out what the problems were, and there was some problems. It was just like any growing business. There was some bumps in the road and some unhappiness amongst the ranks. And we took that survey and we went through it, with a fine tooth comb, and we found out all the things that were really upsetting to the employees. And what we did is we acknowledged them. And there were some things on there that were like, we want 4 weeks of vacation, and we're like, okay, well, that's probably not going to happen, but we've read it. But there were things on there that we could change, and we did say, like, okay, you guys want better wages, or you want like an extra couple days off, or you want longer breaks, or whatever the case might be. We acknowledged them and we made the changes on everything that we could. And I think that the employees felt like they had a voice and their voice was heard. And our work staff is probably 85% millennials, so I think for them it was just being able to have their voice heard and see the changes, like, oh, this company cares about me. It's not just about making money. And that's really, that's me. I care about my people. I care about my clients. And it's not just about making money. It's about, you spend more time in an office with the people that you work with. I mean, at least before the pandemic, but you spend more time in the office with those people than you do with your own family. So you're there 40 hours a week, right? And if you're lucky and you're working with these people, they become part of your family. So you want to treat them right. You don't want people feeling like they're disrespected or they're not being heard, because that's one of the worst things that I think, if you feel like you don't have a voice. So
yeah, most certainly. And I think creating that culture it's a top down game almost, right? I think oftentimes we just think, okay, it's an HR function to create the culture. From all the things that I've gathered and read over the years, it's almost like at the top down. The CEO kind of have to determine what is going to be the culture of that organization, and then guide that organization to go, to kind of adapt to those culture and mantras that you've created as a group, right? And I think that's essentially what you've done with your organization.
Yeah, I think. Thank you. I think I'm the point person, right? If I lead by example, I learned a long time ago. Like one of my bosses at Empire, he brought me in and he said, don't just tell everyone what to do. Like, get in there and roll up your sleeves and show them that you can do it too. That's how you earn their respect, and then they'll work harder for you. So same thing. Like, I set the trend, I set the tone with the culture. And I live and breathe it. I'm not some guy just writing it and like putting words on a wall. Like, I breathe that stuff. I'm volunteering hours with them as well out of Habitat. I'm donating time at Second Harvest. I'm doing all the things that I'm asking them to do as well. And so I think they respect that and see that their CEO is, living those words. And thanks for bringing it up before. I'm sorry I didn't touch on it, but we have won Great Place to Work award 3 years running. So,
that is awesome.
It's definitely that. Those surveys brought us forward, into year 6. So year 4, 5, and 6, we won. So
that's awesome. Yeah, congratulations on those accomplishments. It's not easy to be able to get those recognition. So obviously you've learned a lot in the process of building a company. What is one big lessons you would say that you learned as an entrepreneur in the process of building this company that you run today?
I mean, when I got let go, I was sitting in my old house at the I had a kitchen like counter, and I was just typing away, starting Branded Group, and I started diving into like doing company documents for filing for like the state of California for a business license, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I hired a lawyer, and I started trying to do my books, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I hired an accountant. I read the book The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and he really dives into that. When you're an entrepreneur, he says, you're going to wear many hats, but as soon as you can get that hat off and you can hire an expert to do it, because the cost time analysis, cost benefit analysis, however you want to look at it. Why spend time doing things you're not an expert at when you can focus on what you're good at, which for me was sales and building culture. So
yeah, most certainly. And I think that self-awareness is an important quality in an entrepreneur, right? Because oftentimes I think it could be E-Myth, or I'm not sure which book I've read it. Basically, you become this practitioner, right? You're the founder, you're the visionary. You also become the practitioner, which you're also doing the job, right? So then you're not, you have to figure out how do you replace yourself, right? Because if you're holding all the keys and you're controlling everything, then if anything happens, you get hit by the bus, then you are the business. There's no real business. It's you, right? So I think coming to the realization that I'm not the strength, I'm not the guy, right? And that there is experts that know how to go form a corporation, how to make sure that you're set up for success, and that you have all the right safety measures in place so you're not going to get sued or whatever that is, right? And then the guys that know how to look at the numbers and figure out where you're making the money and where you're losing the money, and give you ideas on how to be efficient. Like, those are things that I think entrepreneurs sometimes they think in the name of saving money, they try to do too many things, but then they're really not an entrepreneur. They're kind of like running a more like a I don't know what you call it, more like a lifestyle business almost, right? So if you're trying to scale, you can't try to save a penny, right? Trying to save $1, lose a penny, or whatever that saying I've heard people use.
Yep. Yeah, no, you're right. That was the E-Myth, and it's the same thing when you get caught in the operator or whatever you're good at. I do think he referenced that, where if you get hit by a car, your business is no good, right? So you got to hire experts, and if you are, what is it? I think you were trying to say, like, a penny wise, a pound foolish, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not making that money. You're not, if you're trying to spend all this time focusing on balancing the books, and you're not even doing it right because it's going to cost you money anyway. And then you're not focusing on what you could be doing better, which is like selling. So
yeah, and you want that outside recommendation. You want that outside eye, because you're looking at the same thing every day. You want those additional wisdom from people that might be doing that forever, right? That's their expertise. So they can look at the things and see patterns that you would not see because they've seen hundreds of books before. So they're able to call attention to things that you may overlook. Has there ever been in the process of building the company, have you ever been resistant to change as things evolved, maybe technological advancement or things like that, where, hey man, I don't want to do that. I've been doing it this way. I don't want to change. Has there ever been circumstances like that you can think of?
I'm pretty flexible when it comes to that, because I'll be the first to admit I am not the technology guy at the company. I'm the sales relationship culture guy. So my partner, he's the technology guy. And when we first started, 2014, we went with Gmail as our platform for email. And I had always been on Outlook, so I had to relearn Gmail. And the first 2 months, I'm like, I hate this. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't figure it out. But I figured it out. So I'm not really resistant. Like, for now, and currently, I learned how to do sales in 2001. Pound the Phones, Goldmine was the top of the line system for salesmen at the time. And I have two 20-something salespeople now, and they don't do cold calls very often. They don't do email campaigns. They're on LinkedIn, and they've closed more deals on LinkedIn in the last 2 years than I've ever done on LinkedIn. So I wouldn't say I'm ever opposed to it. You can teach this old dog new tricks, but I definitely, it's hard for me to learn it maybe. So I guess that's where I'd go with that.
Yeah, and I think the reason I brought up that question is oftentimes the resistance to change, especially as time evolves or things evolve, right? And the entrepreneur who is at the top of the game, like, if that person isn't willing to adapt, oftentimes they can hold the company back because they have some old habits that they don't want to get rid of. Right. I think that recognizing that is important. I think even though you found it difficult to adapt this Gmail technology, today your company is completely remote for the last whatever number of weeks, and you're able to operate because you're not tied to a local machine and running a server to check your email, right? And there are companies that I've heard where they're super tied up to a physical location or a server or something like that to be able to access their files or send an email and things of that nature. So that's why I was curious to see if there was ever a time for you.
No, definitely not really a time. But yeah, thankfully we did go with Gmail, because when this pandemic hit, we literally on a Friday told everyone don't come back to the office, and they haven't been back since, and it was seamless. No one knew. So
yeah, that's a blessing. I mean, that certainly is a blessing to recognize. How has your approach, or at least your the way that you perceive sales, marketing, and overall leadership changed over the years that you've been a leader?
How has my approach changed? I just think I don't know how to really answer how it's changed. I think it's just evolved. When I started, I was probably a young guy trying to be everything, like we talked about, and I really started feeling like I needed to give something back and like give my employees a place to be happy at. And so, I'm very employee centric, and I think when I started, I wasn't that way. I don't think I had found my way to evolve into that yet. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just trying to make sure we didn't go out of business. So I'd say just being employee centric and really, taking care of my people and building this culture. And now culture is like, when I started, it was a thought in the back of my mind, but we had 2 employees, so I wasn't really thinking so much about culture. But now I'd say culture is probably my number one thing that I do on a daily basis, is figure out, we just put together our 5K Be Better Together run that we're doing virtually with our employees during the pandemic, and they're going to go out and run a 5K in their own backyards, and we're going to take pictures and all bring it together. So that's some stuff I probably would have never thought of 6 years ago, especially during the times that we're in now. So
and obviously, I think when you and I were started the conversation, I remember you actually had a PR person that's representing you personally and also representing the company, which kind of also shows the way that you've positioning yourself, right? Because you're positioning yourself as an industry expert. You're in the process of starting your own podcast. You also have some books in the making. So talk to me a little bit about when did you realize it was time that I actually need professionals who can kind of help build a brand, and not just Michael alone is kind of riding the ship.
Let's go back to the E-myth, right? I'm not a PR person. I knew the one thing that I had in this industry, and I'm in a very niche industry, so we have a finite amount of retailers and restaurateurs and whatever, and we have a finite amount of suppliers. So I knew that if my reputation ever was tarnished, that was the end of me. And so I wanted to make sure that we could build my reputation and Branded Group's reputation through an expert. And, Jennifer from On Purpose PR came in, and I've known her forever. She had worked at the last company that I was at, and then she's also got let go right around the same time as me, and we were able to link back up and work together. And she's been a catalyst to help me with the 1-for-1 program that we previously talked about, and even the Be Better Together 5K I just spoke about. These are brainstorming ideas between me and her. So it's been great, and I highly recommend anyone that's an entrepreneur. Again, a penny wise, a pound foolish, right? Like you're building your brand, you're building your company, the recognition, the stuff that you can get from building all that stuff with an expert. I don't know how to like quantify it into ROI, but believe me, it's the big buzz, right? But it's definitely necessary in today's economy.
Yeah, and I think you hit on a great point, because a lot of times entrepreneurs are ROI focused, that they want to see results and they want to be able to measure that result. And a lot of times when you do things like you're doing branding initiatives, you're getting published on Inc. magazine is going to directly result in an actual deal, right? And you may not be able to attribute that to a deal that you won, but that really goes a long way in terms of building credibility and recognition in the marketplace, because you could be a fly-by-night company and nobody heard about you, and you could still be making money, but you also can build a brand, right? The brand equity that you're building for your company is not something you can put a dollar next to it, or you can attach a dollar to it. But when it comes time, maybe you're trying to exit or something like that, that equity that you build for the brand is going to live way past whatever else, right? I mean, that's where the real value comes. I think any entrepreneur that recognizes that is amazing.
Yeah, just a little quick story on that. We have one of our biggest clients is a big retailer in the marketplace that's even doing well in the current marketplace. And the way that we landed them is we had done work with they're part of a big conglomerate, and we had done work with one of their sister brands. They had a big kind of summit. They brought in their top vendors, and we went in with like 5 or 6 other vendors, and those vendors all did their normal PowerPoint sales pitch. Like, here's what we do. I went in with my marketing, and I went in with my PR, and I said, here's what we do for giving back. Your service calls amount to this. Here's our culture. I didn't talk about what we do because everyone knows what we do, right? We're there for the reason that we're a facilities management company. And I landed a top 3 client in our company through not talking about what we do as a facilities management company, but as a what we do to give back. And directly had the director of facilities tell me, and still that I actually was speaking to him right before this call, tell me, we're going with you because your values align with our values, and we want to work with a company like yours. So I don't know what the ROI is on that, but it's there, right? So
yeah, and oftentimes you may not even be able to see such a result, right? But there's probably some decisions were influenced because they saw what you do, your company values, how you give back, and also just the standard of ethics that you portray, right? And I think that's the value of that too. Like in this case, you actually had a real story where someone actually recognized it, and they say, okay, this is the reason why we believe you're best suited for this partnership. But oftentimes you may not even hear that validation, but they may have that behind their brain. They recognize, okay, this company actually is someone that we want to partner with, right? So yeah, it's certainly important to build a brand equity, and then the leadership has a big part in it, and recognizing that is super critical. Kind of in that theme, my question comes to you. Basically, what are some of the characters that you observed, personally you believe that you might have, or that you believe entrepreneurs should have, as far as some leadership skills or qualities that they should possess?
I believe that my biggest characteristic that I possess as an entrepreneur that's helped me in my career is authenticity. I was told a long time ago I just have that voice that sounds like I'm being honest, and I guess it's good, but I really am being honest. I'm always transparent with my clients. If something goes sideways, I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to tell you I'm going to fix it. I really do care. I'm not just putting on a show to possibly drive sales. I mean, yes, we all want to make money as an entrepreneur, but you have to believe in what you're doing and care about the people that you're doing it for. And if you don't, I think it comes across as very fake, and most people can see that. So I've always been authentic. I've always just been myself, and sometimes I've been told I'm the emotional guy, but that's okay. I'll be the emotional guy. There's nothing wrong with emotional intelligence and being able to connect to people on an emotional level. So authenticity.
Makes sense. And what other characters have you noticed others that when you observe them as an entrepreneur, what are some of the things that stood out to you from their personality or their style?
I just think, transparency, being upfront, being honest. You can always tell. I had a sales guy when I was at 9 West. He was the guy that called me and said, hey, let's go out to dinner. Let's go play golf. Let's do all this. I said, okay, well, I'll do this. I was a young guy. So I said, I don't want to do golf. Let's grab lunch. Came in and he said, give me a shot, So I gave him a shot, and he came in and I gave him a job to do. It was change 2 ballasts. And to change 2 ballasts at a 9 West store should have cost $250 tops. And he charged me like $500, and she gouged me, thought I didn't know what I was doing, and then he was like, "Oh, well, that's how much it costs. These are expensive ballasts." Like, tried to defend it, and I'll never forget that. And for me, it's like, everyone's got to make money, right? I'm not saying don't make money, but you don't have to make that much money, and you can sell or be an entrepreneur. Just be honest, just be upfront, just be yourself, right? And make your money, but also take care of your clients. Like, if you're in the business just to make money, then it's going to be, I think, short-lived for you.
Yeah, so. Most certainly. I think that's a good thing you bring up. And oftentimes you have that pressure, right? You the pressure to win the deal, and you're trying to pamper that customer to get their buy-in, but oftentimes you can break that, you can burn that bridge very quickly if they smell the dishonesty, right? Whether through the pricing that you have or just the way that the quality of the output that you delivered. If any of those things don't match up to whatever the promise that you made, that's not going to live well And then you can lose that opportunity. And then also in the long run, referrals and anything else that could come out of it, right? So I'm sure, I don't know where that relationship ended, but I'm sure that didn't last too long. But then you might have other scenarios where you have 5-7 years long relationship with customers where until that person leaves or whatever, right? They have the long-standing relationship that they just trust you. And then that trust goes a long way than anything else that you can do. And even if you're a little bit more of an expensive supplier, but if they can trust you and they know that you do a better job, they will tell you up front, man, you are a little bit more expensive, but I love you because I trust you and I know your quality is good. I know you will come through. And I've had customer tell us that. So I'm sure you've seen those happen as well in your.
Absolutely. We tell them we're not the cheapest, but we are the best. We'll let you put your head on your pillow at night and go to sleep knowing that job's going to get done. You're not going to get a call saying the store's on fire or anything like that. So
yeah, and you call me on a Sunday evening, I'll pick up the phone because I know that I made a promise to you and I can't make you look bad because that look makes me look bad too. So that's an important part of that. So I'm sure as an entrepreneur, like you said, you're working on a lot. You got a podcast coming, you got a book in the making. You're also building an amazing company with culture. You still play a little bit of a sales role, overseeing the entire organization. So there's got to be some hacks that you have from a personal productivity standpoint. What are some of the things that you do to stay on top of everything else that you got to get done?
It's just time management, really. I live by my Google Calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. So I've missed a few things because people are like, "Oh, I'll catch up with you at 10." Well, it wasn't on my calendar, but it's really like I learned that a long time ago. Like, be organized and stick to your time management because the days, it's only 24 hours, and you're sleeping 6 to 8 of those hours if you're being better to yourself and you're getting enough rest. But so you really only have, 16 to 18 hours in a day, and you need time for other things in that day. So you need to schedule time for yourself, for your workout, for your work, for your your meetings. So I actually read a book recently called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Have you read that book?
I have not. I would certainly look at it. So what exactly is Atomic Habits?
So the crux of the book is very simple. Just start. You can start a new habit, and it's as easy as just trying to get 1% better every day at that habit. So if it's I want to get up at 6 a.m. every day. That was my habit for this year to get a little bit more out of the day. Is get up at 6 a.m. I've been slacking a little bit during the pandemic, but I think we all probably have, right? But 6 a.m. every day, and it's like, okay, if you don't get up at 6, you got up at 6:05 today, you got up at 6:04 the next day, right? Just get 1% better every day until it's eventually ingrained in the fiber of your life. So, and then you can obviously compound habits over and over with other habits, and then it just becomes this lifestyle. So, so you got to start small, I guess. So it's a great book.
Most certainly. So obviously, you've been learning a lot in the process, and I'm sure you look back and can think of some things that you could have done differently or better. But knowing what you know today, what would be the advice that you have for yourself when you were starting, right? Your younger self when you were starting this journey as an entrepreneur?
So if you are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, don't doubt yourself. You can do it. You're going to have people that are going to doubt you, and they're going to be scared for you because they're scared for themselves. My mother could not deal with the fact that I was starting my life over and moving to California. She's like, what if you don't make it, blah, blah, blah. And, she, not that she wasn't supportive, she was just scared for me, right? But you can't let that fear overtake your dream. Like, do not doubt yourself. So it may be scary, it may be overwhelming, but you can do it. So just stay focused and know that if you're thinking of doing it, just do it and don't listen to the doubters.
Yeah, and I think you kind of have to have a mental, you kind of have to make that mental decision too. Like, hey, I know how to sense it when it's something that's true, right? Sometimes your parents can, or your friends or somebody else can tell you the right things, but oftentimes it may not, you may not receive well, right? So sure. I think being able to adapt accordingly, I think that's a key factor. So I know you have a lot of things in the making. Like I kind of alluded to some of those things. What can we expect in the coming days from Michael?
Well, we're working on my own podcast, which I'd love to have you on. We just got it off the ground a couple weeks ago. We're filming and recording our third and fourth episodes tomorrow, and then we want to make sure we have a good amount of content before we start releasing. And just started working on a book about culture, the Be Better culture. So how to be an entrepreneur and build a culture. I'm sure it'll evolve over the next couple of months, and hoping to get that out, by the end of the year, maybe middle of next year, something like along those lines. So
What's kind of the topic of the podcast that you're creating?
it's the Be Better podcast. There's a theme here, right? So Be Better podcast, and we're not trying to just bring business people on. We just want people that are like successful in whatever it is that they do and how they're better at what they do. So, personal trainers, entrepreneurs for sure, but anyone that's doing anything in any industry, we want to have on the show, and why are they better? And how are they being better? So this is kind of the common theme.
Makes sense. And as far as like, if you were to give like a one advice for somebody who's really struggling to build a strong culture within the organization, what is like one thing that you said, this is, if you hit this, you will see success in terms of building a strong culture?
I really think it's connecting with your people. There's bosses that come in. My last company, when the private equity took over and the CEO came in, she came into the office on a Friday once every 2 weeks. She said hello to nobody. And, there was no way to build a relationship with her. I mean, I make sure every morning when I come into the office, I walk around, say good morning to everyone. I don't care what you do in that office. I don't care if you're the highest paid or the least paid, or your job is the least important to the most important, whatever, however you want to like determine it, right? You're still a part of the Branded Group family, and you're important to me. So I appreciate every day that you come to work and help us build Branded Group. So I make sure you feel that way. You're not just a number. So if you want to build culture, connect with your people, like whatever it is, and I'm a little bit luckier that I understand, emotional people, and how to connect. That's why I've been blessed to be so good at sales in my career. But build that relationship with that person. Maybe they like baseball, maybe they like music, maybe they like politics. I don't know. Talk about whatever you can relate to them about, and just have a conversation. Take someone to lunch randomly once a week. Things of that nature. Like, people want to know who you are, and they want to respect the person that they're working for. They don't want to just think they're making money for some big company. My opinion. My humble opinion. So
I think you bring up a good point, because oftentimes the thing as entrepreneurs, right, and we're the leaders, we think, okay, I have so many priorities, I got to get to it. Like you said, you got to live by your schedule, and then you just get into that zone, right? Hey, I got pressing priorities that I got to put out some fires, and I also have some proactive things that I got to take care of, that oftentimes you overlook the building of the culture part of it. And I am guilty of that for 100%. And now, especially with us all working a little bit remote, it's even more complicated, because you kind of have to be proactive. Otherwise, at least you used to see them in the hallway. Now I don't even see them in the hallway, right? So that could be an extremely complicated situation, especially if you work remote. So are there anything? Go ahead.
Yeah, just to touch on that, we've been doing like Zoom happy hours, and with our team, we've been doing like Thankful Thursdays. So every Thursday we send out an email of what you're thankful for this Thursday. Last week it was our favorite restaurant that was still open for takeout, and you'd see the mouth-watering pictures of that. There's like 80 places I need to try in Southern California now because of last week. But anyway, things of that nature, just keep everyone involved, So
awesome. Any parting wisdom for our audience that you can share?
I mean, I think we've covered a lot of good topics here. If you want to be an entrepreneur, don't be scared. Go for it. Don't listen to the voices. Though I guess the one last thing that I didn't touch on is find a mentor in your area that you can connect with. If you are a entrepreneur or trying to be an entrepreneur, find someone who's done what you want to do, and pick their brain, take them to lunch, sit down and talk to them, and take their advice, and then mobilize their advice. Make sure you utilize it and you put it into action. That's what I would say is probably some good parting advice. Yeah.
Most certainly. Well, Michael, I'm so appreciative of you sparing a little bit of time with me and sharing some of the expertise and experience that you've had in building this business. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to continue this conversation. Thank you so much.
This episode of Coffee with Closers is brought to you by One IMS. a leading digital marketing agency helping businesses win new customers. To request a free marketing ROI audit, please visit oneims.com. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. To make sure you never miss an episode, please subscribe.